Release date, September 27th, 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of TBD CFB with your hosts. I'm Mason.
And I'm Joey.
And I'm Isaac.
On this episode, we're going to get right into picking the biggest games of Week 5. This is our Week 5 preview and prediction. But right before we get into that, we're going to talk about our pick records for a second because, alas, I have fallen out of first place for the second week in a row. In third place, we have Joey going 2-3. He's now 14-11 overall with the bad pick last week being Oklahoma. Me in second place, myself, went 2-3 last week with actually the best pick being Michigan over USC, but I also picked Oklahoma over Tennessee. So I'm now 16-9, and Isaac, over 2, is in first place with a Week 4 record of 3-2. He's now 18-7, so I remain 2 games back. Joey remains 4 games back, but it's still a close race. So now, let's get into it. Starting out with our game of the week. Like normal, Isaac, why don't you tell the folks what our game of the week is?
Folks, our game of the week is 4th-ranked Alabama hosting 2nd-ranked Georgia in Tuscaloosa at 7:30 on Saturday night. Looking forward to this one.
As a Georgia fan, definitely a little bit worried about this one, not going to lie. I honestly don't know what to think about this game, as Alabama's last loss was to Michigan in the playoffs, but our last loss was to Alabama in the SEC championship, right? So no team has lost a game since then, but you've got a super high-powered offense, right, who has playmakers like Ryan Williams at wide receiver, Jam Miller at running back, and they're explosive, right? They don't just get chunk plays. They get huge 40 to 50, 60-yard plays downfield, but you're going up against a defense who hasn't given up a touchdown since Alabama. So I think that's going to change this weekend. I think this one's going to be a close game. But I'm really having a hard time deciding who wins right now. When you compare quarterbacks, you've got Carson Beck and Jalen Milroe, obviously. Carson Beck, 56 for 82. Jalen Milroe, 35 for 52. Carson Beck has actually thrown 30 more throws than Jalen Milroe has. I'm not really sure why that is. I guess that comes down to Carson Beck being in those chunk yardage plays. With Jalen Milroe, he just chucks it downfield for big yardage and big plays. Carson Beck, 680 yards and 7 touchdowns. Jalen Milroe, 590 yards and 8 touchdowns. I think one of the big factors that comes down in this game is injuries for Georgia. We're supposed to get Mykel Williams back on the defensive line. On the offensive side, we've got Tate Ratledge. He's out. He just had tightrope surgery, so he's going to be out for a handful of games. That's an All-American offensive lineman. So we're going to be a little thin at that position. So can we open up the run game to then open up the pass? That's the big question, I think, in this game. I think that Georgia definitely, if we are able to do that, we definitely have a good shot because this is a tough road game in Bryant-Denny. It's not going to be an easy place to play. Any Georgia fan that thinks that we're going to roll up in there and have our way, you are crazy. If it happens, fine. I'll call myself crazy, but I don't see that happening. I know this one's going to be close. The ESPN FPI is Bama at 66%. So ESPN truly thinks Bama has a 66% chance to win this game. The TBD model is Bama by 3, but the spread is UGA by 1.5. We've talked a lot about how the TBD model and the actual spread has been really different lately, but even though they're picking different teams to win, this is still showing that it's going to be close. One Bama by 3, the other one UGA 1.5. I'm picking first in this game, and I'm just going to tell you guys straight up, I have Alabama in this game, and let me tell you why. When you look back at it, and now this is Alabama with Saban, but we've only won one time in the national championship. Last time we played at Alabama in 2020, we lost by 21. Last time we played them in the SEC championship, we lost by 3, which is closer, so we're getting somewhere. And we beat them in the national championship in 2021 to win our first national championship in 40 years. But I'm picking Alabama because I talk a lot about confidence in players and confidence in teams. And right now, Georgia hasn't shown me that they've shown me that they can be competitive with Alabama in a game, sure, but they have not shown me that they can really beat them, and especially not in their own house. So for me, I've got Alabama.
Well, that's kind of shocking. Really, it comes down to this for me. We both know both sides on offense are going to go off against each other. Alabama does have a defense, but Georgia's had a week off, right? They've had a week off to figure out what's going on offense, and of course, Georgia's defense is Georgia's defense.
But so has Alabama, to be fair. They've also had a week off. I just wanted to point that out. Both teams coming off bye weeks.
That's fair. I will say this, too. I mean, majority of players on Alabama have played Georgia and beat Georgia. Majority of Georgia players have played Alabama and have lost to Alabama. The only key factor that I think it comes down to is coaching. Who is going to out-coach who? I think, at the end of the day, Kirby Smart is a better coach than DeBoer. I'm pretty sure DeBoer's first time facing off against Georgia, and I don't think he's ready for it. I think Georgia's offense kicks it together this week, and I think that the defense is going to be too much for a DeBoer type of offense. Yes, it's electric, it's fun to watch, but I mean they struggled against South Florida for a decent bit of the game until towards the end. Kirby Smart's going to take every little bit of that film and splice it up, and you're going to see the same exact stuff. Alabama offense kind of struggling, if not all the entirety of the game. So I got Georgia.
I've gone back and forth on this one since this past weekend. Both teams had a bye. I was actually in Louisiana for a wedding, and was lucky to watch the UCLA game via YouTube while I was there. But anyway, nonetheless, I'm looking forward to this one. Very excited about it. As an LSU fan, I don't have a dog in the fight, but obviously I don't like the home team. This one is going to be close. I agree with Joey. I think it comes down to coaching, but unfortunately, it's a Saturday night game in Tuscaloosa, 7:30 kickoff. I'm going to have to give this one to the Tide. Even though I think Kirby can outcoach, and listen, I'd be glad to get this pick wrong. I do not want Alabama to win, but I think realistically speaking, I like Alabama to win this game just because of the nature of the game and where it is. So I've got the Tide in this one, unfortunately.
So I'll just finish this one out because I've rambled long enough about this game. I'm the only one here who really, has a dog in the fight, really truly cares about getting the dub in Tuscaloosa. This would be a huge road win or just program win. This would be a huge historic win for our program. We haven't beaten Alabama in Tuscaloosa since 2007 when it was Matthew Stafford who did it. So it's been a long time since we've won in their house. To be fair, we haven't gone that many times since, but last time we went, we got dogged in 2020 to a historic Alabama program, sure, but this is the one pick that I think that I'd be okay with getting wrong this year. I really want the Dogs to do well. I love what Joey said. I do think that Kirby can outcoach him. I'm not by any means saying that Georgia cannot win this game because they absolutely can. They have the playmakers to do so. They have the defense to do so. They have the coaching to do so. We are, to me, I think no matter what, we're still the best program in college football right now just because of what we've done over the past 3 years and with the talent we have. But right now, I'm going to have to pick the Tide. I really hope that I'm wrong, but you know what? Go dog! It's still a go Dogs, and let's try to win this thing.
Our next game is Saturday, number 20 Oklahoma State versus number 23 Kansas State at 12 p.m. Oklahoma State, man, coming off a tough loss against the Utah team who, no offense was in the game, I can tell you that. Kansas State with an electric offense, but, they didn't show up either.
They didn't even score a freaking touchdown. I was watching this game at like 1 a.m. I had church, and I was like, okay, I got to go to bed. And then I was like, maybe they'll end up coming back because I went to bed right at the start of the second half. And I woke up, and they had scored 3 points, and BYU had scored a touchdown. That is, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that is freaking crazy.
I mean, Kansas State did not show up. BYU did. ESPN FPI has Oklahoma State at 53%. TBD model, Oklahoma State -9. And the official spread at the moment is Kansas State -6. Honestly, for me, I called it last game. Oklahoma State cannot show up in big games, but they kind of impressed me last game. Kansas State, not so much. It is at Kansas State, though. The last big game Kansas State had at home, they kind of did pretty good. They did pretty good. So this is a tough one, but I got to go Oklahoma State here. I think they're finally starting to prove themselves in big games. I think their defense is really what carries them, though.
So this one, I was also watching the K-State and BYU game, and as I called them, the Stormin' Mormons showed up, and the muffed punt inside the 5 returned the other side of the field for a 99-yard touchdown for BYU was insane. K-State honestly looked just in shambles. Did not look great. I know it was a road game. Oklahoma State, a close game against Utah. This one is a little bit tough for me to pick. I'm going to have to go with the Cowboys as well. I think K-State coming off of that honestly rough game on the road against Brigham Young, I just don't think that they're going to be ready. It's a 12 o'clock kickoff. I think the Cowboys coming off a close loss to Utah are going to be coming in with a vengeance. And so I like Oklahoma State in this one.
If you would have asked me to pick this game a week ago, I would have 100% straight up told you K-State all the way, baby. But now I don't freaking know because what I witnessed in Utah last week with BYU was incredulous. How do you go from beating Arizona, who has McMillan and Fafita by 31, to losing by 28 at BYU? Now let me say this. People always they do this to App State too, but this is like the Power 5 team, if you would. They're like the App State of the Power 5. People go to their house and underestimate them. They always show up thinking that, oh, it's just BYU, we got it. Nope. They turn around and win. I think that Avery Johnson from K-State is upset and pissed right now that he had the performance that he did. He's probably been watching film all week. I bet that K-State defense is looking at Utah and seeing how did they stop Ollie Gordon. Because Ollie Gordon only had like 60 yards the whole game. And this is Ollie Gordon we're talking about. He was supposed to be the second best running back behind Judkins from Ohio State, the Ole Miss transfer. But he hasn't been able to do anything. Give me the Wildcats in this one. Call me crazy. I don't care. Whatever. I think that Avery Johnson is going to get on the film. He's going to get on the field, and he is going to seek vengeance on the Cowboys this Saturday in Manhattan. So, yes, give me Kansas State and the Wildcats. All right, going into our next game, we've got a fun one. Number 15, Louisville versus number 16, Notre Dame at 3:30. This one is in South Bend. Do you guys think they're going to be ready to go? Because I don't know. We're talking about a team that lost to NIU here, but it's freaking Louisville, all right? And I was wrong last week. I picked Georgia Tech over Louisville. I guess I shouldn't have done that. They played pretty well, obviously. Louisville, Tyler Shuck, he did well. I didn't expect him to, but I guess at Texas Tech he didn't have an offensive line or didn't have the weapons he needed. So Louisville and Tyler Shuck, he came out, he balled. This one's going to be really interesting because obviously you have Notre Dame who won a big road game against Texas A&M, lost to NIU at home, who just lost to Buffalo last weekend, by the way, destroyed Purdue the next weekend, and now they're facing Louisville, which, by the way, they were having their historic season last year with Sam Hartman until about 4 weeks into the season, and then they lost to Louisville. Louisville was the team that knocked them off. Do they repeat? ESPN FPI has Notre Dame at 67%. TBD model has Notre Dame by 1, and the spread is Notre Dame by 6.5. So the spread and the TBD model actually in agreement on this one, all three in agreement. We've got Notre Dame pretty heavily favored. Isaac, who you got?
I would also like to let the record show that the week after destroying Purdue, they only beat Miami of Ohio by 24 points on Saturday, I think it was, like 28-3. Listen, okay, you say Isaac's 3.5 touchdowns. They only give up a field goal. Yeah, but it's Miami of Ohio. You're Notre Dame. You were a top 12 team, a top 8 team, if I remember right, and at the beginning of the year. You lost to NIU. You demolished Purdue, and you only win by 3.5 touchdowns against Miami, Ohio. Okay, where Ben Roethlisberger went. Okay, this is not a big school. This one's in South Bend. I really thought Notre Dame would be a lot better after their big win against Texas A&M. Nonetheless, 6.5 point spread in favor of the Irish. Man, I got to tell you, I got to go with the Cardinals in this one. I think Louisville's offense, I think they looked really good this past weekend. I'm looking forward to this one. I think they're going to go into South Bend, and I'm going to say the upset, even though technically speaking they're ranked higher. I think they're going to pull it off. It's going to be a big one, but I like the Cardinals in this one.
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty confused on like whether or not like it's an upset just because you were favored or like the ranking. I mean, I guess you technically could say it either way. I guess because Notre Dame could upset Louisville because they're not ranked as high, but I guess you could also have Louisville upset Notre Dame because Notre Dame's favored. This one, I'm going to go ahead and go with Louisville on this one. Call it a gut feeling. I should have gone with them last week, and I didn't. So I am playing it a little bit safe here. But yeah, give me Louisville because I think their offense can get it going. I think Tyler Shuck comes in and plays well against that tough Notre Dame defense. Notre Dame's defense is really what kept them in the game against NIU as their offense that had problems, which is really crazy because they have Riley Leonard, who's a really good quarterback. I think if Louisville can stop Riley Leonard, and I think they win the game easy. So give me Louisville in a close one.
So going into this game, I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, Louisville's offense is good. Notre Dame's defense is really good. So it's really just a matter of if Notre Dame's offense can put together something against Louisville's defense. Now, Louisville's defense did come in clutch against Georgia Tech to kind of seal the game. Which is a very talented offense to do that against. Granted, it was not a good game for them majority of the time. But with that being said, Notre Dame's offense still just can't get it together. So it's like they had one, maybe two games where it's like, okay, they got it. The rest were questionable at best. So I really I think I gotta pick Louisville here.
All right, folks, it's going to take us into our next game, which is going to be 21st ranked Oklahoma going into Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama to take on the Tigers at 3:40. This one, I think, is going to be really fun. Obviously, first time for Oklahoma visiting Auburn and the SEC. Oklahoma coming off a big loss to Tennessee in Norman, a really good game, a game that all of us went back and forth on last week. Auburn coming off a 10-point loss to Arkansas in their own house last weekend in Jordan-Hare. So do with it what you will. The ESPN FPI has Oklahoma at 58%, but the TBD model has Auburn at 8 points, and the official spread as of this moment has Oklahoma by 2.5. I'm excited about this one. Glad I'm not going first. Joey, who you got?
Look, I know the Tennessee game was not a promising game. It didn't look good. Well, in some aspects, it didn't look good. Also, the Houston game, it didn't look good in some aspects, but you got to admit, that defense is good. Meanwhile, Auburn, I genuinely just don't think they're that good. They're one of those fake good teams, I think. They look like they have potential, but they don't. They just don't. So I got Oklahoma here. It's at Auburn. I don't care. I got Oklahoma. They're mad they lost the Tennessee game, but dude, Oklahoma actually held up Tennessee yes, they lost, but what? They held them under 30? Like, that's better than what anybody else did. Thank you, NC State. So, yeah, I got Oklahoma in this.
Yeah, and honestly, as I sat here and thought about it, it's not really as tough of a game as I thought it was going to be. I've got Oklahoma as well. I think that Auburn really just isn't that good, honestly. Listen, it'd be good for LSU's confidence to play the Tiger Bowl this year. I mean, because Auburn's not that great, and we're struggling, it seems like. I think the Sooners go into Jordan-Hare and really, without much issue, cover. I mean, 2.5 points, no big deal. They're mad. They lost to Tennessee in a really tough game that Tennessee handled for most of the game. Auburn, a 10-point loss to Arkansas at home, and Arkansas is not great. When was the last time Arkansas was really that good? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I like the Sooners in this one.
All right. So I think the TBD model only has Auburn favored because it's in Jordan-Hare. But like I've been saying all season, Auburn only plays good in Jordan-Hare when it's Georgia or Alabama. All right? Arkansas just came in there and gave them the business. And Arkansas turned the ball over like 3 times. If they didn't do that, they would have won by more. They probably would have won by like 14. All right? Oklahoma, yes, they lost to Tennessee, but like Joey just said, their defense played extremely well, okay? Yes, they still gave up 22 points, but if the offense could have gotten it together, it probably would have been a closer game. I literally, like, going back and watching the film, if they had any sort of offense and scored any type of touchdown that game, it would have been way closer. I'm not saying they would have won. I'm just saying it would have been a lot closer. But let's compare these offenses because we have similar situations, right? So you have Peyton Thorne. He goes up against Cal. You bench him for Hank Brown after he throws 4 interceptions. You bring Hank Brown in as a freshman against New Mexico. He plays pretty well. He goes up against Arkansas. He turns the ball over a bunch of times. All right, then you go over to Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold comes in. The offensive line lets him get sacked a bunch of times. Completely screws up his confidence. They put in the freshman Hawkins in, and now it looks like they're going to roll with Hawkins, right? And in Auburn, it looks like they're going to roll with Peyton Thorne. So you've got these two offenses who really don't have an identity and are prone to turning the ball over. So I think really what this game comes down to is whose offense decides to get it together first, which is why I'm going to make it a TBD triple pick with Oklahoma because I think that they're going to. I think Auburn has no sort of defense. They have no sort of identity on either side of the ball. They lost to Cal, who Cal lost to Florida State, and I'm not trying to do the transitive property thing, but I mean, it's got to mean something, right? Right? Okay. So, no, give me Oklahoma. But in the preseason, I thought Auburn was going to win this game because it was in Jordan-Hare. But now seeing the two teams, I'm like, dude, there's no freaking way. So give me Oklahoma. Give me Oklahoma to cover the spread, too. Give me Oklahoma by at least 10.
Mason said there's no freaking way. It looks like Auburn's actually going to end up winning it.
By 10? Man.
By 10, man.
Yes, Oklahoma by 10. Are you kidding me?
Anyways, our next game is number 19 Illinois versus number 9 Penn State at 7:30. You know, these are two teams where it's just like I just don't know. Got to wait for them to play somebody good. No, I'm just kidding. Illinois played a really good team against Nebraska. Actually, kind of handed them a straight L. Like, it was Illinois' game the whole entire game. Penn State, really, their last significant win was West Virginia. That's West Virginia. ESPN FPI is Penn State at 86%. TBD model with Penn State at -2. And the official spread at the moment is Penn State by -18. Mason, try and transcribe that for me.
I don't understand why the spread is so big. Penn State almost lost to Bowling Green at home, and you're going to tell me they're an 18-point favorite over the team that just won on the road in Nebraska? Now, look, Nebraska's not, they're not bumping the stadium pulse. They're not like top 10 in stadium polls. I'm not saying that. But they're not a bad football team. They manhandled Colorado. They've got Dylan Raiola, who's playing well, but I'm really glad that he lost because now he gets humbled a little bit. Like, drop the Patrick Mahomes act. You're not him. Anyway, give me Penn State in this game. I just don't think that it's by 18. I think that Penn State definitely has the team, but there's no way they're winning this game by 18 points. I would even say that they might even win this game by field goal. I think Illinois is going to be ready. This is the second road game that they've had in a row. They got to go they went to Nebraska last week. Now they got to go to Penn State this week. Is it the whiteout game?
Yes, sir.
That's why it's -18, I'm thinking.
Then maybe that's why. But if it's the whiteout game, maybe they win by 7. But I still don't think they win this game by 18 points. The whiteout game is lit, but we haven't seen that Mo Bamba style, stadium atmosphere since Michigan, all right? So I don't think so. I got the Penn State Nittany Lions, but they do not cover the spread. I'm picking Illinois on the spread.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, Illinois going into Nebraska and getting a solid win there. And, they defeated Kansas, who doesn't look that great, but, at least they don't look that great this year, but they do have a talented team. We got to admit that. And it was a close game, and Illinois was able to fight to the very end to come out with the win in that game. Meanwhile, Penn State, as Mason brought up, almost lost to, what was it, Bowling Green or whatever. And, like I said, their last significant win this season was probably West Virginia, whose last significant win was Kansas. Awesome. If it's wide out, it's hard not to choose Penn State. It's at Penn State. It's at 7:30. It's at night, clearly. So I'm going to have to go Penn State here. I think that this could be on upset alert, though. But I honestly really hope that Penn State wins this because then, of course, rankings will be like, oh, Illinois is so great. They're better than Clemson. I don't think Illinois is a better team than Clemson. But, yeah, I got Penn State.
Man, I'm just going to say this. I don't know why this is the whiteout game this year. I think it's a little bit early. Normally it's mid-October. Normally it's Ohio State or Michigan. I mean, listen, now, the Ohio State team this year, they start slow. Could it have made a worthwhile game for a whiteout game this year? Maybe not. Penn State, obviously, again, almost lost to Bowling Green at home. Michigan, much more viable game for the Nittany Lions. Nonetheless, they're not playing those guys this week. They're playing Illinois. I like the Nittany Lions in this one. However, I agree. I don't think they cover the spread. 18 is a big spread. Probably a lot of that's because of the whiteout. I like them by a touchdown, but I do not think they cover. 18 points, that's a lot. But I think they do get it done. Illinois is a good team, though. They did they outlasted and really outplayed Nebraska down the stretch in Lincoln on Friday night. And then, of course, Nebraska had just shut down Colorado a week prior. So, yeah, I think this will be a really good game. I'm excited to watch it. But nonetheless, TBD triple pick, Nittany Lions in this one for sure.
I could only assume that Penn State decided this was going to be the whiteout game because they were like, maybe we should actually try and win the whiteout games. We should give us a chance to win the whiteout games. Just saying.
I was this close to picking Illinois last week, and I should have done it, but I went with the Cornhuskers because it was Dylan Raiola and it was in Nebraska. I knew it was going to be a close game. I really just thought that Nebraska was going to pull that out. I'm glad Illinois won, but I really wish I would have picked them. And I really want to pick Illinois here, but I'm not changing my pick. I'm going to play it safe with these guys. I'm already 2 games back as it is, so yeah, we're going to leave it at Penn State. But I think we're all in the same boat. Penn State wins, but does not cover the spread. 18 points against Illinois. I don't care if it's at home. I don't care if it's the whiteout. That's just too many freaking points. So no, there's no way. I don't have them. We don't have them. All right, cool. Anyway, that is our show. We picked the 5 biggest games of the week, and we've just done that for you. We got some really good ones. We got some tough ones to pick this week, especially with like Oklahoma, Auburn, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State. Georgia and Alabama. Biggest game of the year so far. Playoff implications in place here. This is going to be a magnificent weekend of college football. You don't want to miss it. Come back next week. We're going to review those games. We're going to pick some more games for you because the season, no matter what, is going to roll right on. Go Dogs, go Tigers, and go Tigers. And we will see you next week.
And always remember,
no matter what team you pull for, if you're on God's side, you're always on the winning team. Just know that there's a Father in heaven who loves you, who created you, who wants to know you, who wants to have a relationship with him. For those of you who know him, that's awesome. We're going to keep praying for you. And for those of you who don't know him, we believe that you should know him. And if you have any questions about that, you can hit us up on our TikTok or Instagram DMs. Leave a comment on this YouTube video. We're praying for you as well. If you ever need to talk about anything, any type of sin struggle or anything that you're dealing with, seriously, hit us up. We're praying for our listeners. We want to talk to you guys, and we're just so thankful that you decided to tune in. I'll leave it with this. Romans 5:8 tells us that while we were yet sinners, God sent his son to die for us, and he showed his love for us in that. And so we just want you to know that Jesus came and died for you, that you are a sinner who needed his death, and if you accept him, the Bible says if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, then you will be saved. If you haven't done that, we believe you should. If you have any questions about that, like we said, you can hit us up. So, guys, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Later.